Hey man, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for asking. Let me just faff around. All these pop-ups are coming up, so just bear with me for a moment.
Ah,
Like
you're all good.
faff around with that. Let's get that done. There we go. Perfect. Right. Okay. Thanks for jumping on early. It works for me brilliantly because I'm meant to start work in 19 minutes, so that's
Hell yeah.
fantastic. So, brilliant. All right, we're going to talk about. Normally, I talk about other stuff to do with the band, but I'm really focused in on the album,
Hmm.
Raw Discordance. This is how many notes I've written, right, about the
Holy
album.
shit.
Uh, dude, dude, like I didn't know what to expect when I listened to the album. And then I'd heard one or two of the tracks that had already been released. And then the album's great musically, but then when you put the lyrics with it and you go through the whole journey, it just takes it to a whole other level. But I was like, I kind of still don't really know, kind of like I think I know what's going on, but I was like, great, if there's a chance to speak to Mikey, Mikey can tell me what the hell is going on in this story. So, I think the album's great, by the way.
Thank you.
I figured out, correct me if I'm wrong, I figured out that there's mainly two characters,
Hmm.
King Papicho and Clara.
Yep.
I'm right with that, yeah. There are some of the obviously side characters in there that have come from other stuff that you've done. I kind of get the impression there's a fight between King and Clara.
Yep.
Okay. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but somebody dies at the end. Right,
Somebody
we get
dies.
that. Okay. So, but what's the actual, like, what's the backstory and genesis of what the album's about?
So it's, I guess like the easiest way to put it is like it's a part two to our album from Trinity. We kind of treat like, because we've been a concept band since 2016, we kind of treat like our story as like TV show arcs. So everything from our first album, Fear Me, up to the three-track Ultima Pluvia in 2020 is like the Fear Me arc. We like to call it, whereas this one's like the Trinity or Apocalypta arc, which started with Jericho and Trinity. And so this is pretty much the direct continuation from the back end of Trinity's closing track, Hail to the King. Um, to synopsis it in a sentence, it pretty much focuses on the battle between King Bafico's forces and Clara's resistance force that forms at like right at the start of the album when the king comes in at the end of Hail to the King. And pretty much follows like that journey. And as you said, there's a lot of like side characters or older characters that kind of came back that weave their way in and out of the story. But the predominant theme and I guess synopsis of the album is following that resistance force and how they kind of fight back against this king's reign up until the very end. Yeah, I think that kind of covers it in a sentence. I think
Yeah,
I try to keep it as
yeah.
simple as possible.
Those 11 songs. Yeah. I mean, how do you come up with the whole like concept of it? Because I mean, obviously, this is not just one, like a lot of bands will come up with a concept for one album and it will take them years to piece that together. I mean, as you've mentioned, it's like, well, this is a continuation of this, and this. So,
This and this.
yeah.
um, well, I used to write a lot of stories when I was in high school, and I think like that's kind of where it came from. And with the Gloom universe, I guess, as we like to call it, like I always kind of wanted to keep it one continuous, long-running thing like a TV show because I don't think really many bands have done it. Like, there's obviously been like the big ones like Alisana and Coheed and Cambria and Defeater and stuff like that. I think really the only one that we're kind of comparatively similar to in that regard is probably Coheed and Cambria because
Mm.
their whole thing is like one big continuous thing as well. Um, and so that was kind of like the mission statement, at least like when I started this band back in 2016, was that like everything is going to be a continuous thing. Um, and I don't know, I guess like the ideas just kind of keep coming to me. I think like the last one, Trinity, like I was playing a lot of video games at the time and playing D&D with my friends, and so like that's where a lot of Trinity's story came from, is because we like to call it a bastardized D&D campaign. Um, Whereas this one, I was actually saying to somebody the other day, I feel like a lot of it is actually influenced by what's been going on in the world politically, which is kind of like the first time for us. Like I try and keep politics out of things for the most part because we are a concept-based band, and it feels
Hmm.
kind of wrong to a certain degree to have like, unless it's like you know, not worthwhile. That's the wrong term. In tune with like kind of what's going on in the story. Like it feels wrong to kind of start meddling into that. Obviously, we all have our own personal beliefs and stuff like that, but this is kind of like the first time that something like actual real world has kind of directly influenced the writing, especially with the few conflicts that we've had over the last like 5, 6 years. In particular, you can point fingers to a couple of them. So, I mean, I take influence from everything, but I guess for this album, that's actually probably been one of the biggest influences as opposed to something from pop culture.
So, I mean, it's like musically as you go through the album. So obviously, the opening track is just it's just like chaos and it's a blur of noise. But then, um, as you go through it, like I didn't write the full title, I just wrote Love One because I know that the last two tracks are Love One and Love Two.
Yep.
So part one though is like it's so melancholy and somber, like it's so emotional. Like taking all the whole story out, like that is just so beautifully written
Oh, thank you.
and performed. So like when you're writing the story and the concept and the lyrics, how do you then piece whatever musical ideas you've got? Because you're still a heavy band.
So the interesting thing about Love, at the very least, Love One, was it was actually written back in like 2018, 2019. It was written a long time ago, and it's the last of kind of my back catalogue, I guess, of songs, or at least like fully fleshed out songs that we kind of used for this record. So as you can probably kind of gather, like I've pieced together a lot of the story stuff like well in advance.
Yeah,
And so using that song for that person's death was always going to be on the cards. Um, we yeah, so like when I kind of wrote that, it was with that intention in mind. And so immediately having to like get into that headspace and everything like that, I'm like, okay, well, how are we gonna do this? Because I know that once we do this one, like this is, we kind of had like a set rule after Trinity of like, we're not bringing back characters if we're killing them because I have done that before. So we're like, okay, with this one, like if this is actually going to be it, then we need to make it hit like a fucking freight train. Sorry, pardon my French. Um, and so I was like, cool, I already have this song written for like how I want it to go. It's just like a matter of having that part two now to properly kind of send them out. Because originally, like there was a version of the record where there was only going to be like two albums per se, and the second one, like this, the part two to Trinity was going to be the finishing of that arc, just so we can kind of close everything off and move on to the next one if we wanted to. And then I decided, no, actually, I want to dedicate a full album to like this kind of conflict that's happening. And so instead of that, originally that was going to be in the middle of the album, so we just kind of shifted it to the end, which I think was probably a smart idea. Um, so yeah, I think it's a tough one. Getting into that headspace is certainly a way of approaching it, but I always knew sonically how I wanted that person's death to sound, at least from the get go.
mm,
I think I was like, I think like honestly, like the best reference to it is like "The Mercy Seat" by Nick Cave. Was like I heard that song and I'm like, ooh, like I want to do a song like that, but like gloomify the absolute hell out of it. And kind of work with that. So yeah, I don't know. It's there's a lot of different ways I approach it.
so you've got the I mean, even going through it, I mean, like one of the singles that got released was Nope, Hollow
Mm,
Point Elysium. Uh, and you've got like I think there's a reference to Jay in there,
yeah.
who's a returning character.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's the lyrics in there almost seem to be like I think there's a John McClane thing. There's a John Woo
Yeah.
element in there, like
Melatonin.
it's yeah, and then the whole clap clap thing. That's just such another sonically different sounding song that's on the album from what you normally do. I mean, what was the kind of the inspiration behind that one? And don't say movies. You need to give me a different answer.
No, I. Video games. No. No, I think like the way that like I kind of approached lyric writing this album was very much from the emotional standpoint of each character. And so with Jay, it's very easy, or Jay and Sherlock, to be honest, like it's very easy for me to slip into that kind of narcissistic, arrogant, I'm better than you kind of attitude, which you can also see on Assassination Run. Um,
Mm,
and because I did those characters for so long over the Fear Me arc, that like and like I did like a whole TikTok with them as well. Like getting into that character is really, really easy for me. And Nope was the second last song written for the record before I went to the States to go record it properly. Um, and I knew that honestly, like we will say, like don't say movies is the inspiration, but like a lot of Jay's background and him as a character comes from stuff like Max Payne and John Woo films and John McClane and The Punisher and like a lot of those characters from the 80s and 90s and video games all the way through. And so that was kind of my ode and love letter to that because that's what Homie is doing for most of the story is just being a belligerent dickhead that can that just tequila's his way through. Um, like actually a good comparison is Tequila from Hard Boiled, like or
yeah.
like any or like I said Max Payne, like he is like the terrible kind of ethos antithesis of that character. So that was where Nope's inspiration came from was like a love letter to a lot of those films and video games that actually inspired him.
It was interesting you said that it was easy to slip into that character. Um, and I reference to movies. Whenever I've heard actors speak about their favorite characters, they always say the evil characters are the best characters to play. Is that
Yeah,
what you feel as well?
yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think it's like because I think as well like when I first like started writing my like initial versions of him and stuff like that, like it was very much like a self-reflection of me, but taken to like the absolute utmost extremes.
Mm.
Um, whereas as time has kind of gone along, me personally, I've strayed a lot from who he is as a character, which is I think a very much a good thing. um,
Yeah.
at least I'd like to think so. Um, but like as it gets like because he started off like initially as like a like semi self insert kind of thing, but absolutely twisted to the worst extremes. I find it a lot more fun playing it because it almost feels like playing a very evil version of me. So
Mm.
I guess that's what also makes it easier to slip into at least his character and Sherlock's character.
Now, I have to ask the question. I'd be remiss if I didn't.
Hmm.
The Obviously we know what happens at the end there, but that can't be it for these characters in this storyline.
No, no, it's just the end for that character. No, yeah, we've got a whole other thing planned.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And because I'm wary of time as well. So then you also touring as well in March.
Hmm.
I'm in Adelaide. You'll be here on March 5th,
Fourth, fifth?
4th. You could be right.
I can't remember
It's
to
one
be
of them
honest.
days.
Don't ask
I
me.
could,
I'm terrible with dates.
yeah. Don't ask me. I only prepared and researched. So, so I've just got no idea. But yeah, you're here in March. I mean, how are you like when you do your show? Like, how do you incorporate the songs into it? Like, do you just play them as the songs flow, or do you still think of doing a concept?
No, we very much treat it as like its own separate thing, at least for now. Like if we were able to do the thing like Ice Nine Kills and have like a pretty much borderline theater production, we'd love to be able to do that. But time
Yeah.
and money. So for the most part now, like we pretty much treat the songs as songs from a live perspective. I'll make certain call outs and stuff like that about like what the songs are about occasionally, but not really. We try and give the audience an entertaining show more than anything else.
Yeah. Entertaining is certainly what it is. The album's certainly entertaining.
Thank
Like
you.
I said, I really, 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 really enjoyed the album. I found it was like a good book. I couldn't put it down. Once I started listening to, I'm going to write this in my review, but you're hearing it first. Once I started like reading the lyrics and listening to it, it was like you have to go the whole way. You can't just jump in and out. Well, you actually can for one or two songs, but I just felt to get the real enormity, especially when it gets to the end, to get the enormity of what happens. Yeah, you've got to be invested like a movie. So that's a credit to you, yourself and the rest of the
Thank you.
guys in the band. All right, well, on that, I've had my 15 minutes. we'll bring Tiana back in, and I will see you. Here she is, and I will see you on the 4th of March.
Alrighty, I can't wait to see it.
Thanks, Mikey. Thanks, Tiana.
Thank you, Ian. Have the best day.
You too. Bye.